you're going a little bit against the grain here, because a lot of the traditional marketing advice is build your audience first, build a big email list, and then sell to a small percentage of that email list. And what you're saying is actually it's not the size of the email list that is preventing us from having clients. So if it's not the size of the email list, then what is it?
It's that we tend to, as experts, right? That's when we're entrepreneurs, we're an expert on something. And it's probably because we've had to live through it ourselves. But it's also true that it's probably been a little while since we've been in that position. So we don't fully understand the needs of our market. And the market has changed pretty dramatically in the last couple of years, and I think will continue to. So we hear about a problem people are having, and we immediately create this amazing solution, and we will spend a few months tinkering and perfecting it. And we might even pay someone to help us get professional videos made for a course. We get a beautiful landing page. But nowhere along the lines did we actually have a conversation with people that we're trying to serve to see whether this is the most urgent problem they are having. Are they even aware that they have this problem? Because that's usually a big disconnect. And so I think that in the rush to provide value and be of service and be helpful, we miss that step because we are so certain that we know what people need. The problem is that people don't know what they need. And it's true that we might have a better sense of things. So in my book, I talk about this concept that was first written about in breakthrough advertising back in 1966. This is not a new concept. I have a little spin on it, though. So there's the little p problem aware folks, right? Like a lot of times you hear this
Yeah.
called symptom aware, but I don't like
Mhm.
calling it symptom aware because from the perspective of your prospect, it's not a symptom. They think of it as a problem.
It's very
So
real.
they
That's
have a
true.
little problem, and that's the problem they're trying to solve. But you look at that and you're like, oh, that's not it. Like there's a big P problem that you need to be paying attention to. So if we can, through conversation, emails, marketing, sales pages, video, if we could help move people from little p to big P awareness, if we are able to help them think about that bigger problem, now they're like, oh, I didn't realize. And now they're a little more open to hearing about your solution, because initially your solution feels just completely disproportionate to the problem. It's like you saying surgery would fix this. And they're like, I wanted a Band-Aid. Like, what are you
Yeah.
talking about? And they walk away because you're like not talking to them. Once they become aware of the solution to this bigger problem, they then realize that you are the guide who can help them implement this strategy, this solution. So then it's a question of urgency. They are now having to make a decision on whether to move forward or not. Before, they really didn't know. They just didn't know what was the bigger problem. But now that they know, and they know there's a way to fix it, and they know that you're there to help them, if they don't do it, they may reach a point where the cost of inaction is too great. And when the cost of inaction is too great and they feel that urgency to take some hold of this and do something about it, that's when they come back to you and they ask, can we work together? That's
Yeah.
different. That's attraction, right? That's not selling and pushing. That's just informing people and educating people. So I always say my ideal client is very aware of the bigger problem. They've got tools to help them try to solve it on their own, which is essentially my book. And
Mhm.
my ideal client looks at all that and says, you know what? I want to do it, and I want to do it right. I want to do it fast, and I want help getting it done. And this is super important to me, and I can't put it off, and I can't play around. That's the person who wants to work with me. But they can't get to that if I don't help them through the rest of the journey. And that's true for all of us who are working to attract clients. The problem with how we do most discovery calls or research calls is that we just give them a ton of free advice. And free advice is rarely acted on quickly. And it usually is overwhelming. As much as they're grateful, they don't have a clear path. It's not a strategy, it's a list of tactics. And when they finally look at the list of tactics a few weeks later, they don't recall what it all means. They're not sure where to start. They can't decipher their notes. And they don't want to come bother you because, well, you were so generous. And
Yeah.
so they muddle their way through until they mention it to a friend who tells them about a coach. And the coach says, here's 2 things you can do after meeting with them for a few minutes. And then that's the person they hire to do a strategy call and like start working with them. And
Mm.
there's a way to avoid that. And I call it my magical question. And I've got a whole video on this. So if you go to robbiesamuels.com/magical, I will share the actual phrase with you and a video and an excerpt from my book to help explain how do you avoid giving away lots of free advice and still acquiring clients. But with a research call, I think the danger is in calling people, like getting on a call with someone and saying, okay, hey, what do you think about this? Do you like the blue button or the green button? Doesn't matter, you know? And so instead, the way I like to start enlightening people around this question is ask people to come to a call. Let's say you're in the habit of doing discovery calls. Hey, can you come to the call with 3 questions, 3 scenarios, 3 problems, right? 3 challenges, 3 something relevant to the
Yeah.
topic. That little bit of homework is enough to get them to start getting their head wrapped around this. Then when they show up, you have your quick hellos, and then you say, well, share with me what those 3 things are. Now, your instinct is to jump in and just go, oh, you just do this, this, and this. That's not going to help them.
Mm.
So you want to be a good coach, and you want to ask good coach questions like, oh, so tell me a little bit more about this. Like, how did you decide these 3? Well, how are they impacting your life, your business, your bottom line, your employee morale, your home life, your sleep, whatever is relevant, right? What have you tried to fix this one? What's worked? What do you think would work? What do you think you need to make it work? Right? All those probing questions. And then you might even say, is there something you think you need to figure out first before you even get into this stuff? Like, is there something else that's kind of even a precursor? Maybe there's something that's come up for you that you didn't think to write down, but it's now you realize a bigger deal. Like what is the most urgent thing, do you think, to get the next step figured out? And you're asking them to place themselves in this conversation and to take some agency and to really start to grapple with that. I have this really funny analogy that I share in a lot of my trainings around poison ivy. You know, if you come to me with a rash and you asking for anti-itch cream, I could just give you anti-itch cream, right? That would be solving the little p. I could look at it and say, whoa, that looks like poison ivy. When did this happen? And I can ask a bunch of questions, and I come to discover that every time you go in your backyard, you get poison ivy in another part of your body. And you had never thought of that. You had only dealt with each individual incident separately, and which is why you were very clear the thing you need is anti-itch cream because it's worked before. But you weren't trying to solve the problem of poison ivy. You were just trying to solve the problem of having a rash. So because I've asked these questions, you're starting to like think about this. Now, if I immediately rush in and say, oh, I have a friend who's got a bulldozer and he does landscaping and he can just clear all the vegetation down to dirt and then come in and build you a beautiful new landscaping, your eyes are just bug out because like you came in looking for anti-itch cream. I want people to remember that dissonance when they're selling, because when you're marketing and selling your offer, if you're selling landscaping and a bulldozer to someone who's looking for anti-itch cream, that's why they're not responding. But if instead you said, you know, let's talk about what you might do to remediate this. What do you think might work? Hey, do you actually know what it looks like? So maybe there's some education, right? Show them what it looks like. Teach them the whole like rule of 3, you know, rule of 3, leave it be, right? You give them some skills around this. So you give them a little education, a little training, and you ask them to come up with some plans. So they go away for 2 weeks and they rope an area off. They put down pavements, stones, and then they come to you and they say, oh my gosh, no matter what I did, it keeps happening. My kids play back there. I'm not okay with this. This is the difference between little p and big P. When it's little p, they weren't trying to solve it. It was like anti-itch cream. Now they're aware of the bigger problem. Wow, poison ivy is actually, I can't just contain it in one area. It's everywhere. What can I do? And that's when you'd say, you know, it seems a little drastic, but I know this will fix things. I've got a friend with a landscaping business and he's got a bulldozer. And if he just comes in, he can just rip out all the vegetation, wait a week, and then put in all new landscaping. And you'll never deal with this again. And you'll have a beautiful backyard for your family to play in. That is a big deal solution. But now it's like, whoa, I think I might want to invest in that. I want to learn more because, yeah, I'm tired of I can't just ignore this. And at some point they're like, I want to move forward with a bigger thing. And you already know someone who's going to help me. I don't have to do research. I don't have to. Yeah. I'm happy to help you as you figure it out. Like that's service in a different way. If we just hand them the anti-itch cream, that's really more like a lunch and learn solution. Lunch
Yeah.
and learns when you come and into an office and you do a 1 hour program. It's
Yeah.
like never enough to really get to the big picture. It's just giving
And
them a bunch
everybody
of
says,
band-aids.
that was great. Thank you so much. And they never come back to you
Yeah,
because it wasn't enough for them
right,
to solve whatever problem they didn't even know they had, right?
right. And they're
In the
actually like,
book,
they feel good about it. They're like, I got what I need. I'm good. Anti-itch cream.
yeah.